here is taking a lot of business. I'm going to turn this over to you and get this started for you.
First off, thanks Rusty for this opportunity. Thank you guys for coming out. This isn't possible without you guys. First off, I'd like to thank my Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Without him, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you to my family, my grandparents that are here today, my parents, especially my sister, who is the real athlete of the family. And I'd like to thank all my coaches from Coach Danny and Coach Hanson and Coach Carmine for just believing in me these last few years. And here we go. So the next 4 years, this is a good decision. I have some friends that wanted to help make this decision for me. So I'll be playing baseball and football for the next 4 years at a certain school. And if you wouldn't mind turning your eyes up to the stairs.
Let's give Ryland Goudy a round of applause.
Hello, everybody. Brandon Adams, the former Georgia wide receiver, Terrence Edwards. We're back here live once again at the Marlows in Dunwoody. We're trying to catch our breath after what has been a wild last couple hours for the Georgia Bulldogs. Let me start with what just happened, and then we'll kind of work our way backwards here. You just saw a moment ago Ryland Goede, the outstanding four-star tight end for the class of 2019, make his choice of the Georgia Bulldogs. That's a commitment announcement from Goede there on that one, the 2019 tight end. And in fine fashion, he does that. For those of you who caught the live stream there, we had the Battle Hymn of the Bulldog Nation look to be playing with the trumpeter up in the balcony there. They're at another establishment in Atlanta. The trumpeter is playing. Then the celebration there as Goede chooses the Georgia Bulldogs. Of course, Georgia working on a #1 class for 2018. Also, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite Team ranking, #1 in 2019 as well, and adding Goede to the fold will only enhance the Dogs' lead there.
What else? He might be working on a #1 class for 2020 right now.
Yeah, exactly, for all you know.
Another top-notch commits from the state of Georgia from a tight end commit.
Goede, as you said this before our broadcast came on, that the thing to know about him is that size. You know, every single player that Kirby Smart brings in at the upper echelon, the upper end of height for that position. Goede, another example of that, a 6'7" guy, fitting very well with, John Fitzpatrick from this class, Luke Ford from this class, the 2018 tight ends, both big guys. Ryland Goede is the example of that here for 2019.
It seems like that's the trend right now for the tight ends that Kirby wants. They got to be 6'6" or better. You know, that's 3 now that we have in fold that's going to be 6'6" or 6'7", and he's just getting bigger at every position.
He absolutely is. You know, the anecdote that I've mentioned a couple times here is being with the Bulldogs in California for the Rose Bowl at the event known as the Beef Bowl, which is like a big competition. It's not really a competition anymore, but it's a big eating festivity between the two teams. The servers at the restaurant that hosted Georgia and Oklahoma, the one thing they made a special point of remarking to me about was how much taller they thought the Georgia players were than the Oklahoma players. This is a team in the college football playoff, and yet Georgia, to folks who don't even train football eyes necessarily, Georgia was noticeably taller. That's what Kirby wants to do, and Gode's another example of that. He fits in, Terrence, with a group of commitments already. Jaden Hazelwood, #1 wide receiver for 2019.
Beast.
Nolan Smith, a guy that's sort of the Richard LeCount of that class. He's a true beast as well, both in terms of his on-field behavior and the way that he's bring other guys in this class. He's a terrific recruiter for the program. Dominic Blaylock, another one of those top receivers in the country. I know you know Dominic Blaylock well. Jalen Perry, the defensive back from Decula. Of course, J.D. Bertrand, the linebacker, just won a state championship for Blessed Trinity. And then Luke Griffin, the big offensive lineman there from Murray County. So add Goody to that mix. And as you said, it is a 2019 class that's taking shape very much the same way that 2018 looks right now.
Exactly. And knowing Kirby, 2018 is almost over. Probably over right now with Quay, maybe looking at Tommy Bush, but now he's on to 2019. So that's the type of relentless recruiting that Kirby is doing right. He may be preparing for 2020, 2021 already.
We're live here at the Marlows in Dunwoody. Brandon Adams, the former Georgia wide receiver, Terrence Edwards. We're having a great time here. A lot of folks came to have lunch with us today. If you want to find out more about the Marlows close to you, text the word Marlows, M-A-R-L-O-W-S, to 24242. You can find out more about that. You mentioned a name that we also got to talk about here for a few minutes, because as we react to everything that's gone on today, another name worth discussing here is the four-star linebacker, Quay Walker. Folks, watch that feed from SEC Country from down in Cordele, Georgia. Walker puts on the Tennessee hat. At first, here at the Marlows in Dunwoody, I can tell you there was a little bit of a crestfallen mood around the crowd of, we've lost out on the guy that we wanted. Then, like we've seen recruits do in the past, Walker takes the Tennessee hat off, throws it off, removes some gear to reveal the Georgia logo underneath. That's a dramatic moment here and a massive addition to the 2018 class.
It's a great addition. Like I said earlier, if we had to choose between the two, I want both of them out of him and Tommy Bush. Quay Walker is a guy that was a must-have. I mean, he's a long, speedy, freakish athlete, and those are the type of athletes right now Kirby's trying to get.
If you got time, you can get in the comment section with us here as we're live at the Marlows in Dunwoody reacting to all of this. Alan Verbanchik talking about the wish list that's already been put together for Georgia today, checking off a lot of the names that many of us would have had. Quay Walker joining Otis Reese, a decision we were proud to have been able to bring you live on DawgNation Daily this morning. And then Jeff Sintel was in Plantation, Florida earlier this morning as well when the five-star cornerback Tyson Campbell made his decision. Campbell, Reese, and Walker, after what Georgia did in December, that is quite a finish for Kirby Smart.
It is. And let them know, one thing that we probably haven't spoke about right now, all these guys are going to try to find playing time on defense or offense, but one thing that's going to help, all these guys can run, they're long and athletic, they're going to help out the special teams as well early on in their career.
Ishmael J says, are we done for today? Any hope on getting a Tommy Bush? We'll obviously sort of pay attention, find out what's going on here. Georgia does add 5 guys here. Both Walthour and Jordan Davis make it official. Walker, Reese, the 2 linebackers, along with Campbell. The assumption would be that Georgia has no more room left here, but we'll certainly pay attention to everything that comes out the rest of the way here. Jason Mattis also saying that Tommy Bush is out, no room. That is likely the case here as Georgia closes in on what Todd David Brown's also calling an epic class. So massive, massive haul here for Georgia. An incredible showing. Kirby Smart will speak to the media a little later on today, speak directly to Georgia fans as well, and there'll be all celebration for what this is. Tony Dickerson says, now I want to be number 1 at the end of the season. But, Terrence, here's the thing that we know. You follow this very closely. We obviously pay close attention to this at DawgNation Daily. Being number 1 on the field at the end of the year, this is the first step towards that. And that's not just lip service. This is not just media hype. You can draw a line by the fact that who's this year's national champion? Unfortunately, it's Alabama. What has Alabama done every year since 2010? Been number 1 in recruiting. This is not one of those sort of overhyped things of, hey, let's pay a lot of attention to recruiting because it's good for business. The teams that recruit the best are the teams that win the games. I can't promise you that Georgia's going to win a national championship on the heels of being number 1 in the country this year in recruiting, but it certainly does not hurt.
It doesn't hurt. You got to have good players to be in contention to win national championships, and it goes together. Coach Smart wins the national championship regularly on the field, and he wins it regularly off the field in recruiting. So it goes hand in hand, and I think Georgia's trending that way. Yeah,
absolutely. The name Tommy Bush continues to come up here, and obviously that's one of those things that you'll certainly pay attention to that. And follow that closely. My assumption here is that Georgia's not going to have room. But obviously, there's the academic issues for the other guys potentially in the class, or a number of other issues that I'm not going to speculate about too much here in the open forum. That is this, deal. Trey Duke says he doesn't think Georgia's done yet. We'll certainly have to see, how that plays itself out. But for right now, what we do know is what Georgia has added, or whether there's room for Tommy Bush or not. What Georgia has added, it has been spectacular, and it's been so much fun watching the success sort of roll in here, and the satisfaction and the happiness sort of roll in here as Georgia fans are celebrating. You mentioned before about Otis Reese. You love the fact that he runs.
Yes.
Quay Walker. You love the fact that this is a linebacker. You don't have to take off the field. You can play him as a 3-down linebacker. This is a guy that's got a number of roles he can fit for Georgia. Tyson Campbell is that lockdown 5-star cornerback that Georgia has not had. Georgia hasn't added a 5-star cornerback in years and years and years. All these boxes in terms of big-time positional needs for Georgia, they're able to fill these with what happens here.
It does. This is a great day. And I was thinking earlier, like, how is this day going to go since all the hype is kind of gone a little bit since we have the early signing period? And it still was a great day today with the speculation of all these players, and they ended up coming to Georgia. So it was a great day for the University of Georgia. They got 5 good players that's going to help them a lot.
Bonnie Todd says Saban may have to do some actual coaching instead of just screaming at his coaching staff. I don't know how much screaming he's doing today, but I do think that a class like the one that Georgia's putting together does send a message to Nick Saban. Saban would have wanted Tyson Campbell. Georgia got him. Now, Saban settles for Patrick Surtain, which is a pretty good addition there as well for them. But for Alabama, for Tennessee, for Florida, these SEC rivals of Georgia, I mean, there is a degree to which that Georgia has sent the message that, not done yet in terms of this class, but not done yet in terms of really making a push to establish themselves as the benchmark program in the SEC. That's what National Signing Day performances like this do. And, you'll obviously add these names to who was already in, for the class in December. I know we've talked about this before. You've had a chance to, see up close and personal Jamar Salyer a lot. You know how good he is. You've seen Kearis Jackson. You know how good he is. Tell me your thoughts about what you like about the entirety of this Georgia 2018 class.
This may come to a shocker to you, but I think the best unit that Kirby assembled is that offensive line.
Yeah.
That offensive line, when you got 5 guys and we don't know what position is going to play, you potentially got 2 guards, a center, 2 tackles. That's one of the classes that's positional groups that I think Kirby addressed, and it's probably the best group overall is the offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. Joyce Grantham Dugan talking about the flips that Georgia's able to get. That's another thing that, I think is so symbolic about what Georgia's able to do here. Otis Reese officially was a Michigan commitment. He flips from the Wolverines. That's a massive name brand program. Quay Walker, even though Tennessee was thought to be Georgia's chief competition, he was officially listed as an Alabama commitment. Flipping Walker from Alabama is a massive, massive symbolic victory for Georgia. When you're measuring the success of this class, by the way, I guess also flipping Brenton Cox from Ohio State back in December, you've got to sort of add that to a discussion as well. When you're flipping these players from the big-time programs, isn't it true, Terrence, that's another way to measure the success of this class?
And we're missing one. Justin Fields.
That's a great point. Flipping him from Penn State.
Penn State, probably the catalyst of
really
this
good
class,
point.
Getting the quarterback. Flipping the quarterback, and that's always tough. Is getting the gunslinging the quarterback in this class. But they're doing a great job of attacking these players, identifying players that they want, and going to get them, and being relentless about their recruiting. That's how Kirby coaches, and I've seen it firsthand, and that's how he's going to continue to say.
Danny Smith in the comment section talking about some of the potential academic issues. And, my rule here, both for DawgNation Daily, the show that I do every day, and Facebook Live broadcasts like this, the one we're doing here from Marlowe's right now, is I leave the reporting to Jeff Sintel. If he wants to report something soon about an academic issue being maybe different than we initially thought it might be and how that impacts the numbers available to Georgia, I'm going to leave the reporting on that to Jeff Sintel. Obviously, the speculation is rampant about how Georgia might be able to fit more guys into the class. I certainly get that. I'm going to leave the reporting to Jeff on that. We'll talk about what we know for sure, and that is that Georgia's added a really good one with the 2019 with Ryland Goede, a terrific linebacker as of late here, Quay Walker, to go along with Otis Reese and Tyson Campbell today, and the 2 committed but unsigned players, holdovers from December. Jordan Davis in the mix, Ramel Walthor apparently in the mix here as well. It is a huge addition here for the Georgia Bulldogs here. A lot going on about that. Shesh Bryant, speaking of Jeff Sintel, says, can't wait to hear what Jeff Sintel has to say after today. Yeah, Jeff will be back on DawgNation Daily on Friday. He'll have his Sintel Intel pieces obviously coming up at DawgNation.com over the next couple of days. And all of that is going to be kind of going on there. Huge reaction and sort of setup coming from all of that. So a lot of folks obviously still weighing in on that. And Philip Jordan Wells bringing us back to the name we were able to bring you live a moment ago, and that was Ryland Goede. For the people who are just joining us, let's go back and sort of reset on that. How big of an addition to the 2019 class do you think Ryland Goede is?
Oh, it's a big addition. You know, those guys that take care of the middle of the field, those tight ends, is very important to success for the whole team. You know, blocking wise, outside receivers. So having a big 6'7" kid come into the fold now is just keeping that tradition of tight end you alive. I mean, I played with a lot of great tight ends with Randy McMichael and Ben Watson. So keeping that tradition alive is a good pickup, in-state kid.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, keep taking your comments. By the way, don't forget to join us later on this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, back over on the SEC Country Facebook page. That SEC Country Facebook page has been busy. We'll continue to be busy with you again at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for SEC Country Live. I'm also expecting to hear something from Tommy Bush in the next couple of minutes to find out exactly where he is going. Let me check with my producer, Michael. Are we thinking that we're about to hear something from Tommy Bush here in the next couple of minutes? Let's see if we can find that out here. I was going to stick with this to find out if we did hear something on Bush here in a moment, where around that time when Bush was supposed to make his announcement, Shesh Bryan asked about that same Tommy Bush decision. We'll kind of find out about that if we want to do that. Jason Hoyer, back to the idea of being the #1 class in the country. ESPN says with Georgia's last 2 flips that Ohio State's not likely to catch us. When ESPN says that, they're saying that based on their own recruiting rankings. They do their ESPN 300, things like that. But I think that's also mathematically true for the one that we sort of officially call the #1 ranking, which was the 24/7 Sports composite team ranking. I think with Walker and Reese, that probably ought to lock up #1 for Georgia here.
It should. But like I said earlier, if it don't, this is a great class that we should be excited about. I'm excited about these young men that coming in, and I know Kirby's going to get them onto campus and coach them up and put them in the best position to be successful.
I have some really good news for you. We're live here at the Marlows in Dunwoody. That's Terrence Edwards, the former Georgia wide receiver. My name is Brandon Adams. You may have heard about this. You're just joining our video. You may have missed this live. Quay Walker picked the Dogs down in Cordele a few minutes ago, and he did so in very dramatic fashion. A big time, if you're a Tennessee fan, you hate it. If you're a Georgia fan, you love it. If you're counting for the #1 overall class, it's massively significant there. We're going to show you that here coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to have that video ready for you to go. So if you're watching us right now, I know it's in the noon hour around the Atlanta area. So if you're at lunch, stick with us for a few minutes. We're going to try to show you that here in just a moment. Richard Pollard says that Tommy Bush getting ready to go here on ESPN2. We'll follow that. Once again, I'm going to assume there's not room for Tommy Bush. I don't quite know how you do the math on this, but some folks seem to think that this is worth waiting for and watching for. So we'll see how that goes. I know there had been a lot of online chatter last night about Tommy Bush. I certainly do get that. Philip Jordan Wells also giving us the catchphrase of the should, yeah, which Jeff Sintel sort of made famous coming off the Quay Walker deal a moment ago. So we'll keep with this. We'll try to show you Quay Walker here if we can get the video for that. We'll announce the Tommy Bush. That's a TV deal, I believe, so we don't have a stream for that, but we'll certainly talk about that a little bit. And we'll continue to chat up with Terrence Edwards here. And how much fun is it for you to see a lot of these guys that you have worked with? You know, as I said, you've spent a lot of time at Pace Academy. In addition to the individual work you do as a personal coach, you spent time at Pace Academy. You've seen Jamari Salyer.
Yes.
You've watched film. You've worked individually with a lot of these wide receivers. How cool it is to see a lot of these guys that you either know, coached against, coached with, helped out, patted on the back at some point in time. How much do you like? So there's a huge reaction here in the building. I'll get back to my question on you in a moment. I can only imagine what that must mean is. So I'm hearing here that Tommy Bush has picked Georgia. That announcement coming on the TV here. We got a big crowd at the Marlows in Dunwoody. They react to this as well. So Tommy Bush is also in Georgia's class here. And I don't know how Kirby Smart's getting it done, but he's loading up talent the likes of which we have not seen in any Georgia class ever before. This is quite a day to be a Georgia Bulldogs fan, Terrence Edwards.
All you can do is shake your head right now. It's like, wow, how? Yeah. How are we getting this done? You know what? We can't question him, man. He's doing a great job in getting the talent in. And like he said, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and listen, good for Georgia finding room for Tommy Bush because and I say this in lowercase letters, but there's almost something tragic with the fact that if Bush wants to be at Georgia this bad, you got to find a place for him.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to do it. Now, I don't know what you do about 25 guys. I don't know what you do about all that. 85 scholarships. You know, we'll let the accountants do the math part of this. But if a really good receiver wants to be at Georgia, then it's Kirby Smart's duty to find a spot for him.
Exactly. I mean, a 6'5" receiver that can run. I mean, those guys don't grow on trees. I mean, gosh, this is a big pickup for the Dawg. I mean, look. I can't wait to see him in the red and black. Can't wait to see him.
And this is where I'm going to frustrate some of y'all, because some of y'all are going to want to speculate about how this is even possible. You're going to speculate about who's not in to make room for Tommy Bush, and I'm just not going to do that. We'll let Jeff do that. He won't speculate. He'll actually do some real reporting. Kirby's going to speak at 3. That's about, as I speak here, about almost 12:30. It's about 2.5 hours from right now. Maybe he can shed more light on that right there, but it wouldn't be fair to me to address anything. And listen, those of you who watch every day, you know. I mean, you know who there was a concern about going back to December. You may have, heard something about February. Y'all know the rumors. You don't even need me to even explain what those might be, but I'm going to let somebody else speak about them as something less than a rumor. We'll let Kirby talk at 3. We'll let Jeff report what he wants to report. Right now, we'll just talk about who is in. Tommy Bush in. And it's amazing to me, Terrence, that so many people here are just so excited about Bush. And this is a name that a lot of Georgia fans probably only became acquainted with over the course of the last couple of months. But what you have said about him, Georgia fans also like, which is the fact that he is that big guy. He can run. They saw the success that Javon Wims had in 2017, and they say if Wims could do that for that Georgia team, maybe that Jake Fromm, or when Justin Fields is on the field, maybe those guys can find the same level of chemistry with a guy like Tommy Bush.
Exactly. And having a 6'5" kid, gives a bigger target. He has a bigger catch radius than someone who's 6 feet 5'11" with long arms. So for them to be able to put the ball in a spot that he could go up and get it. And now we have 2 here with, keep mentioning Matt Landers.
That's right,
man. Yeah. Tommy Bush, man, you got 2 6'5", 2 legit 6'5" receiver with long arms and catch rate. That's a dream come true for a quarterback.
And you hear about this, Terrence, obviously, but, Matt Landers was always one of the most talked up guys from the scout team this past year. I mean, what we would hear from Georgia practices would be that Georgia's scout team was a very, very formidable group to go up against for the Georgia defense, because Stetson Bennett was the scout team quarterback. He's a guy that's going to, I think, play some in 2018. He'd get scholarships other places. Matt Landers, as you mentioned. Landers, because he's a big guy, I mean, what I had heard was he was giving defensive backs fits in practice, and that's a guy that's going to play. And Bush is kind of cut from the same mold there.
I think one of the biggest things what's going to help us, and I've heard this from Kirby, is the scout team is going to be so much better. Like, you just look at the guys that we redshirted this with, Isaiah Wilson, Justin Schaefer didn't get redshirted, but Notori Johnson, that O-line had to go against the #1 defense every day. So those 2 guys are going to be prepared to go against other team defense now, because they spent the whole year going against our defense. So they're going to be prepared mentally and physically up against the competition that they're going to face every Saturday. So he stockpiling talent, and now the competition is just going to be that much fierce during practice.
I love what Diedrich Frazier says in the comment section. He says, hey, let's just go get Rick Sandage now, too. Like, I don't know how many people that you actually could potentially try to find room for, but it is a huge, huge moment. Willie Bowe in the comment section also saying congrats on Quay Walker. I actually believe he's going to be the best player in this entire class. Will probably be the first linebacker taken in his draft class. Wanted him with the Tide, but a good pickup for Georgia. So that's an Alabama fan, Willie Bowe, stepping by here to say hello to Georgia fans and say congratulations there. And that's a pretty classy move by a Bama fan to give a little credit to Georgia for getting a player that Alabama wanted.
Pretty classy. He just won the next championship, so he could throw a little class around.
Gregory Nowak also, and when it comes to the number crunching, he says exactly, BA, the staff has figured out the numbers, and that is true. I think that Seth Embers from DawgNation.com does a really good job reporting on this, where he'll try to keep track of the 85 scholarships at any one given time. And this is sort of a strangely hard thing to do, because sometimes you don't know the status of everybody on the roster necessarily, but there are guys that will crunch those numbers. Georgia behind the things will also be crunching those numbers. And this is one of those things that we spoke about this on DawgNation Daily a little earlier today. It's a harder mathematical issue than some people might think, because it's just sort of hard to know, how people count against the scholarship number.
We don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I played, so I have no idea how that's going to work. But somehow, some way, they understand and they know that we have the numbers to do it. So whatever their reasons are of being able to add Tommy to this class, I'm happy we got a 6'5" receiver. So let's just look at it from that standpoint.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Terrence. By the way, that is the former Georgia wide receiver, Terrence Edwards. My name is Brandon Adams. We're live here at the Marlows in Dunwoody, a part of our signing day coverage here for DawgNation and on the DawgNation Facebook page. Reset for a couple of things here. In a moment, we're going to try to show you the Quay Walker announcement a moment ago. We're going to hope to try to bring you that. We're efforting to bring you that video. It's already done. Walker's coming to Georgia. The video is pretty spectacular, though, and if you haven't seen that, we want to be able to try to show that to you. So stick with us for a couple of minutes. We will try to do that. Let me also reset something else. There's obviously a bit of a head-scratching deal of, well, how does all this class fit together? How is there room for all of the guys that Georgia added today to what Georgia already had? As I said a moment ago, I'm going to hold off with the speculation on that. I know there's a name from the December group that some of you are wondering about. I'm going to let Kirby talk about that. I'm going to let Jeff Sintel or Seth Emerson or Chip Towers report on that, and then we'll talk about it as much as you want to. Same thing for everything from today. I'll let the reporting get done, the sources come together here, and then we'll kind of react to that as it happens. But I'm going to hold off on the speculation on how this group fits together. How come there's room for Tommy Bush, for instance? I'm going to hold off on that, which is, I imagine, a little frustrating for you, but hopefully you understand where I'm kind of coming from on that. Let me also check in over here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be able to – and listen, in these high schools, as you know, sometimes the connections are tricky. So we did not have a great connection down in Cordele, as happens from time to time. But you got to be able to see what happens here. Quay Walker, when he makes his announcement, I'm going to be delayed as I speak about this, but you'll be able to see this live. Walker puts the Tennessee hat on, then throws the Tennessee hat off, revealing the Georgia shirt. I can't tell if those are Georgia pants or if those are shorts. He's got the great
they look like pajamas.
It almost does. He almost looks like a great golfer, like Greg Norman or Freddie Couples, something along those lines. But a really cool moment there as Quay Walker chose Georgia, throwing the Tennessee hat to the side here. That's one of the most dramatic ones that we've seen of that. Walker obviously getting a lot of congratulations from the folks in Cordele. And maybe the Crisp County curse for Georgia is broken here. Georgia has not had success down in Crisp County for a while. People obviously remember missing out on Marcavius to Big Cat Bryant last year, who ended up at Auburn. But all that's in the past. All that is no more. Georgia fans obviously celebrating here with the Quay Walker decision. And what a moment that was, Terrence Edwards. Georgia fans justifiably excited about that.
I'm excited about it. Yeah. This one player that I'm going to take over my wide receiver, which we did get in this, because I think he has the talent to really be a day one starter. I think he had the talent to help this team out. First game of the season. I'm happy that we got this guy.
All right, we're going to get ready to wrap up here. Let me reset sort of everything we've learned here over the last few minutes. You just saw Quay Walker there. That happened live a few minutes ago. It's been great to react to that with you. We just saw Tommy Bush get added into the class of 2018 for Georgia. Bush, in a TV ceremony, chose the Dogs. Georgia adds an offensive guy into the defensive mix here. We also kind of sandwich in between that. We saw Georgia add a 2019 commit, Ryland Goede, the tight end. Terrence, a final thought from you on what has been a spectacular day for Georgia.
It's been an awesome day. It's a lot. I didn't think we would have this much information to talk about. I mean, early signing period was something new, and a lot of people got to see the class early. Now we had 5 guys today, or 6 guys that we're very excited about it, and I'm ready to see these guys play.
Well, Terrence, it's always fun to be with you here on DawgNation. Terrence is a great former Georgia Bulldog. The comment section always lights up with those DGD comments. Every time Terrence is with us, we're always happy to have him here with us on DawgNation. Happy to have you as well. I'm back tomorrow morning on the DawgNation Facebook page at 10 a.m. for DawgNation Daily Live. I'll see you this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for SEC Country Live. We'll talk about how the Georgia story fits into the rest of the SEC. And frankly, we'll probably hear from a lot of jealous SEC fans because their school is not like Georgia on a day like today. Thanks for being with us. I'll say goodbye for Terrence Edwards from the Marlows in Dunwoody. My name's Brandon Adams. We'll see you again next time.